Hello guys, welcome back to the BritVSJapan podcast. This is episode 2, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about pitch accent. I'm not going to be going into too much depth about it because honestly, I don't know much about it. And I want to discuss why that is the case. So if you're new, this podcast is literally just an outlet for me to ramble on about different things that I think are interesting, as well as to answer your guys' questions or concerns about language learning or different topics that I discuss in the podcasts. So if you are wanting to have your question answered, or if you think that a certain topic might be a good idea for me to discuss, please check out the description. If you follow the instructions down there, there'll be a way to send your questions in and your ideas. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can by all means just comment in the comment section. I probably won't reply to the comment itself, but I will likely like it or heart it if I'm going to use it for a future episode. So be sure to do that. And yeah, guys, let's get into today's episode. So pitch accent is a part of Japanese language that is essentially the highs and it's very subtle highs and lows in the way words are pronounced or said. And this is something that natives learn naturally when they are born and they are exposed to the language. It's something they pick up completely naturally, and everyone just seems to know the correct pitch for their dialect. Now, of course, across Japan, dialects change in terms of how pitches are used on certain words. So it's not something that is necessarily the be-all and end-all to learn as a Japanese learner. And if you aren't aware, emotion-based language learning does not actually help you to learn pitch accent, which is something that's very strange, mainly because most of immersion and that kind of way of learning just naturally helps you to output and speak the language. So it's very odd that for some reason pitch accent doesn't really conform to this idea of, if you get enough listening, you can output like a native. For other languages, this seems to be the case, but those are generally languages that don't have any form of pitch accent in them. So you can generally get by with quite a native sounding voice in a lot of other languages. And you still can in Japanese. However, if you don't learn actively the pitch of each individual word, then you are gonna not sound completely native. You might sound like someone who is from a part of Japan that no one can really pinpoint, and that's probably the best case scenario. In the worst case scenario, you'll just sound slightly foreign, which is going to be the most case for most people. And I wanted to sort of talk about this because it's something that has been bothering me for quite a while. Ever since I learned about it in the first place, I was kind of like, oh, I should probably learn this. But at the end of the day, I've never really aimed for native level. There was a point in my beginning stages where I figured that I probably could get to a native level in Japanese, and that was my end goal. But as I sort of matured throughout the process, I realized that goal is such a long and hard to obtain goal, and it would take many, many years of intense study or intense immersion, that it would just not really be worth it personally. And of course, this differs from person to person. You might be someone who really wants to do that, and all the more to you if that is the case. I, totally understand why you'd want to do it, but for me, it's not something that I feel like that I can achieve and that I can push myself to do, just because it's something that takes so long and it would require a lot of motivation. There'll be a lot of there will be a lot of stages where you would really struggle with the learning process, I feel, and so you'd probably put yourself down for not being able to learn. And I know what kind of person I am. I know I probably wouldn't be able to survive through that for years and years. So, but pitch accent itself, I feel like it's something that you could probably learn in a very short period of time. Actively learn the pitches for the most common words, right? It's probably something you could do in at least a year, maybe 2 years. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how people are learning it. So as I say, it's not something that I know too much about. So don't take my word for that. But I feel like if you were to use an SRS, a spaced repetition software system like Anki, and you were to do really good flashcards, you could probably get most of this down very quickly and in a relatively short space of time. However, again, that's only half the picture. The issue with pitch accent isn't just knowing all the pitches of the words, it's being able to actually recall them and say them when you're speaking. And that's something that's always been a bit of a turn off for me as well. And I realized that if you were to actively study these pitches a lot over a long period of time, then subconsciously they probably will stick, and you probably will just sort of start naturally saying them in the correct way. However, for a long period of time, that won't be the case, and you'll have to actively sort of make sure that you say the correct pitches, and you'll have to like record your voice and then go back and listen to it to make sure you're saying the correct pitches, and keep constantly correcting yourself and essentially going through this feedback correction loop. And I just don't feel like I would have the time or patience or energy to do any of that. And that's personally the reason why I've never really looked into it, and I've never really bothered with it. And just because the time spent on this one particular part of Japanese language is not really worth the benefits that it gives you, in my opinion. If you want to get to a native level of fluency, then of course, yes, you need to, or sound like a native, then yes, you need to do it. You need to do pitch accent. However, if you're just someone who wants to learn enough Japanese to the point where you are fluent, where you can casually converse with other people, you can read books, you can understand television, you can do anything that a Japanese person can, and you can still talk to them without very many issues, then just like not actually having to learn pitch accent is perfectly okay. You don't have to learn it to get to that stage. It is certainly something that you can just skip and not do, and you can still get to a decent enough level where you can, perfectly converse with a Japanese person. The only issue is that occasionally you might say a word with an incorrect pitch, and a native may get confused and may go, "Hang on a minute, what do you mean?" And in that case, it's just a simple conversation, point where you just go, I meant this, not that. And, if they still don't get it, then you just explain what you meant. But that's very unlikely to happen. Most of the time, they're going to understand that you meant a different word and you just said it with the incorrect pitch. So it's not a huge deal. It's not a big deal if you don't do it. So don't panic about it if you're one of those people that is looking at pitch accent and you're starting to look at it and you're thinking, oh my God, what the hell is this? Don't worry about it too much. It's not like in Chinese where you need to know this stuff to be able to be understood. In Japanese, you don't. It is very much just an added extra, a little spice on the top of your language ability, just to make you sound a lot better. And it can be very useful for that. And if you wish to do that training and go through that process, as I said, all the more to you. I think it's a great thing to do. You will sound absolutely amazing, and it's also great for the language learning community in general, because people will see people that are doing this and that have got to this level of success, and they'll be amazed by it, and it'll inspire more people to get into the language community and learn languages like we do. So I think to the people that are doing this and that have the patience and the motivation to do this, I think you guys are absolutely amazing, and you guys are doing a hell of a good job. So keep up with that and keep going. But as I said, I'm a bit of a bum. It's not something that I can really do. It's just something that I feel personally the benefits don't outweigh the drawbacks. The drawbacks outweigh the benefits, is what I'm trying to say. So that's my opinions on pitch accent. If you have any questions or comments, if you're on YouTube, let me know in the comments section. If you are watching this from another source, then check the description. You can probably find a link down there to send me your opinions and any questions you might have for future episodes for this podcast. And without further ado, guys, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.